I have, I think he's been here before. I'm not sure. George Weisgerber III. I believe George's been on with us before. I'm just not sure. It doesn't say it here. He has been? Oh, welcome back, George Weisgerber III. He's an entrepreneur, actor, and a member of the New York State Democrat County Committee. George, welcome back.
Hey Jesse, great to be on the show again, and now I'm a little bit more familiar with your lexicon. I know who the Great White, who you affectionately refer to as the Great White Hope, and who you feel is a fallen prophet. I now understand your disdain for all isms, maybe except Republicanism. But before we get started, I just wanted to share two quick stories about someone who. The reason I come on this show and conservative shows is I really think it is important for us to find common ground.
Yeah.
And I just want to mention, it is Black History Month. I want to mention Shirley Chisholm, because she, two things that she did that I really show that go beyond people just thinking of her as a radical. She was able to find common ground. When she was first elected as the first African-American woman to Congress, the House, they gave her a BS assignment. They put her on the Agricultural Committee, which would have been an insult for someone from an urban district. But did she cry about it? No. She partnered with Bob Dole, and because Bob Dole's farmers had a surplus of food they couldn't sell, and Shirley Chisholm's constituents, some of her constituents in Bed-Stuy, were hungry, and that's what created the USDA WIC program. So one other quick story about her is when George Wallace, segregationist, was shot, she actually shocked her supporters by going to visit him, because she said we should never condemn violence on anyone, even if we are ideologically opposed to them. So I really think that we could, both on the left and the right, we could learn from Shirley today and try to find more common ground to work together.
She was a black feminist who ran for president, right?
That is correct. Yes. So she was the first, actually the first female to ever run for the Democratic nomination. Yes.
But feminists are real evil kind of people, aren't they?
Well, I mean, if women are looking for if a woman is looking for her empowerment for herself and her peers, I don't find that as evil. I think she's looking to she's not looking to hurt men. She's just looking to help women. I don't think we could fault anyone for wanting to better themselves and their peers.
But feminist women hate men. That's why they become feminists, because they hate men, they hate God, they hate good. And Shirley Chisholm was one of those women who was a feminist, and she hated men, and hated God, and hated good.
Well, I think I gave some examples of how she worked with two men who one was a Republican and one was actually a segregationist. So it shows that she knew how to find common ground, even with people who were at the far end of the spectrum, and even in some ways had views that were, abominable. But I think that that's what we need more of today. Whether you're a feminist or whether you're someone who considers yourself conservative, I think we can all find common ground. As we discussed the last time, in terms of pro-lifers, I always am shocked that they're opposed to contraception. If you want to reduce the number of abortions in this country, the best way to do it is to increase access to contraception, have healthcare providers pay for it, because then no woman wants them.
But if you don't have sex until you're married, then you don't need contraception. And what men and women need to do is to date, no sex, and wait until they get married, and if they can't afford to buy their own contraception, they don't have to worry about it because they're married.
Yeah, I mean, abstinence is a nice idea, but it's not very practical.
It is practical. Why isn't it practical?
I think even they've learned from health education when they try to teach teenagers about abstinence, it really does nothing to prevent unwanted pregnancies. However, when they teach them about the benefits or how to utilize birth control and have safe sex, it obviously reduces the number of STDs and unwanted pregnancies.
But it's up to the parents to be an example of that before while the children are growing up. And people, when they go out into the world, these perverted teachers and professionals should not be teaching that to the children at all. And the reason they impose that on the children because the professional therapists and experts and school teachers are perverted, and they want to corrupt the souls of the children.
I mean, I think it's less about corrupting the souls and more about helping them make realistic choices. I mean, if it's
But
almost
it's not
like
their job to do that. It's not their job to help children make realistic choices, decisions. It's the parents' responsibility to do that.
well, I've always believed it takes a village to raise a child because
No,
unfortunately,
it takes parents to raise children. The village is corrupt. Can you imagine Hillary Clinton raising your child? Hillary Clinton will corrupt your child.
well, I mean, I think she has a lot of qualities that would be a good role model for women. When she became First Lady of Arkansas, she said, "I'm not going to give up my career." She continued working as a lawyer, and I think that's an example that young women would love to should follow if that's what they want to do, and if a woman prefers to stay home, that's admirable as well. But a woman should have the choice and not feel limited.
So you think women should want to become line cricket Hillary?
Well, I wouldn't. No, I think they should want to become. If they want to use their intelligence and the gifts, as you would say, that God gave them, they should use them in it. And if she was someone obviously had the intelligence to get her JD, and she was a lawyer, why should she stop practicing just because her husband became a governor?
Well, first of all, if she, when she got married, she should have had children and not go out looking for a so-called career. And the only reason that most women go out looking for careers is because they're envy and jealous of men, and so they want to be like a man. But a woman who is married with children would not want to go out and work. She would want to be home raising decent children.
Yeah, see, unfortunately, I think it's that type of attitude that, like, for instance, I don't know if you saw Michigan Governor Whitmer's speech, and which she tackled a lot of great things that she's looking to do in terms of criminal justice and economic development for Michigan. And unfortunately, the only thing that the media could focus on was her blue dress, and that's unfortunate because women should be evaluated based on their contributions.
What's her name again?
Her name is Gretchen Whitmer. She was
yeah.
the governor of Michigan.
I saw
so
that.
She gave her.
Michigan made a horrible mistake electing that woman. That woman is evil, out of control, Trump-hating, man-hating woman, and Michigans will live to regret that they elected her.
Well, I mean, I think she has some great proposals. She wants to, help with debt relief for student loans.
But she can't. She's not mama. She's playing mama.
Well, I think it's more about, I love the metaphor. You give a man or a woman a fish and they eat for a day, but you teach them to fish and they can eat for life. And I think that's what higher ed, putting money into higher education and training programs. Are really.
She's not giving a woman can't give a man the fish. She will eat you up and the fish. But let me ask you this. I read that, were you married before?
Yes, and I am. I have been married, yes.
Were you married to New York?
No, well, I was engaged to a woman who does go by the moniker or the nickname New York. Yes, so she's, and she's a great person. It just didn't work out, but yeah. So so I support women, and as I said, I look at whenever I'm in a relationship with a woman, whether my significant other, I always look at them as a partner, someone who
you date men?
Collaborate.
Oh, you date men too?
No, I only date
why did
women.
you say partner there? Men don't say partner when they refer to a woman. They say girlfriend, fiance, or wife. Why you say partner? That indicates you with a man.
No, I think it's more about indicating that we're a team. Whereas it's not like let's just say you're working on anything together. the woman, my significant other isn't working for me. I'm not working
Don't
for her.
say
We're
significant
working
other.
together.
Say my woman. Because
Yeah,
that sounds like a homosexual relationship, and the homosexuals are trying to make us accept them and their lifestyle as normal, and so they brought in the word partner, and now straight people are starting to use the word partner, which is a big mistake.
well, I think that when I think language matters. A lot of
Right.
times, that something could be said, but unfortunately, when it's said a certain way, it could offend certain people. So we have to be sensitive to that in our speech. So I try to be conscious in the language I use that I'm not, that I'm being as inclusive as possible.
Well, don't include the homosexuals though. That make me nervous. But let me ask, you were married to a black woman before?
Yes. So I was married to a black woman, and my daughter's mother is African American. Yes.
You only date black women?
No, I'm currently in a relationship with a woman who's Caucasian. So I feel I have no particular race of women that I would date. I basically am open-minded. If I find someone who I have something in common with, who we connect, both physically and intellectually, that's the type of woman I date. It has nothing to do with their race.
Once you go black, you can't go back.
I have heard that expression, yes, but again, I'm completely don't use race as a determiner to determine anything, whether it's who I date or who I'm friends with or anything. It's just
I interviewed New York, your ex-girlfriend on my TV show, The Fallen State, and
Yes.
one of the things I asked her if she wanted to be called a slut or a whore. And she said, no, call me a whore. I'm a whore. And my mother is a whore. Did you know she was a whore?
No, it's an interesting, I'm surprised that she chose that word, you really didn't give her too many, you gave her two choices. Neither of them was really good. Too bad she could have said, C, none of the above. You didn't say, or would you like to be referred to as a lady?
But she said she loved being a whore.
Yeah, I'm not sure why she said that, but again, so some people also say things for, the shock value. Like for instance, I do believe a lot of the things you say. I think you've made some very good points about. You were talking about the lack of or the decrease in the number of black-owned businesses in the African American community, which I think is something that definitely needs to be addressed. I think gentrification is a big part, a big contributor to that. But then, so some of the ideas that you say, I feel are very logical. But then you like to use the inflammatory language because I think it appeals to your listeners and viewers, and which what makes it entertaining. And I think a lot of pundits on television are doing the same thing. I think a lot of times people are saying things that they don't necessarily truly believe, but they know that it's going to be, but it's going to incite their audience.
Everything I say, I believe. What was it like sharing New York on that reality show with 19 other men? What was that like for you, knowing that you were with 19 other men?
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily sharing. It was more like, a competition. Just like, I guess, you look at the, a primary race, she evaluates the different men for their strengths and their weaknesses. And at the end made her decision who was best suited to court her. And I was happy to compete. And
so did she
it was a great experience.
Did she have sex with all other men too?
No, as I believe none actually, and that's. But again, I understand the reason why she may have answered the question you asked the way she did, because that's what people want to hear. The same way when you talk about, I don't know if you. I believe that you're sincere in a lot of the things you say, but some of them I think are just what do they call it, throwing red meat to the audience. They love hearing these.
Like what, for an example? Can you give me one example of me just throwing red meat to the audience rather than telling the truth? Give me one example.
I feel like when you talk about your relationship with women, I'm sure that you don't completely degrade your girlfriend or your woman, as you would say. I'm sure that when you're in a relationship with them, you do kind of feel like they're a partner. You may not call them a partner.
No, I don't feel that way at all. It's my girlfriend, not a partner. Partner means
Now,
two men or two women.
well, I know you're a reverend, so in Scripture, was it, wouldn't, or one of the 10 Commandments? So I know honor their mother and father, but shouldn't you also honor your wife? Isn't that I'm sure that there's somewhere in Scripture that says that.
Well, honor means don't hate, don't be angry. It doesn't mean worship them. Just don't judge them.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Because see, that's the thing is I feel like, I feel like religion is important, but I feel that people are using the Bible selectively. For instance, why are people who are evangelicals so opposed to programs that could help the poor and the needy? They always say, what would Jesus do? I'm pretty sure Jesus would be welcoming to immigrants. I'm pretty sure Jesus would be.
He would not.
So you believe that Jesus would believe in closed borders and not helping those in need?
He definitely
would.
He would not want the illegal aliens to come across the border into Jerusalem. He wanted a wall around the border. He just tell you not to hate him. And speaking of that, what did you think about the Great White Hope, President Trump declaring a national emergency because the evil Democrats would not give him the money for the wall? What did you think about that?
Yeah, I felt that's an abuse of power, and regardless if he was a Republican or a Democrat, I think that's an abuse of executive power. I think in the end it will be the courts will overrule that. And what's ironic is if it was such a national emergency, why did he immediately go play golf? I mean, if it's an emergency, shouldn't he be at the border right now?
No, he had other men down at the border working. Did you think that it was illegal for Obama, Bush, Clinton, Reagan, and other presidents to use the national emergency for their cause? Was that illegal for them to do that too?
When there truly was a national emergency, so for instance, 9/11, Katrina, those are definitely national emergencies. So that's a justifiable reason to call a national emergency. They're showing that border crossings are down. So if it was a national emergency, why didn't he call it day one as soon as he was elected?
Have you seen those Hondurans and people from El Salvador and Mexico coming by the droves trying to force their way into our country? That is a national emergency. And even Tijuana, Mexico, is sending them back because they have invaded Tijuana for now, and they don't want them there in Tijuana. Are you in favor of open borders coming in? People just coming into our country. Are you in support of open border?
No, I believe in sensible immigration policy, and I think even.
How about a wall? How about a wall? Nancy is a nutcase. How about a wall? What do you think?
Well, we already have barriers and walls in certain parts of the border.
So what's wrong with putting it up around the entire border then?
Well, I think El Chapo is a great example of how someone, when they're industrious, they can go under a wall, they can go over a wall. So there's better ways to secure the border than building a wall. I think the real reason that Trump wants to build a wall is when he was running his campaign, it's a lot more sexy or a lot more catchy to say, build the wall than to say, secure our borders with innovative technology. So he wants to build the wall now because that was his campaign
promise. That's not
promise.
true what you're saying. Mm-hmm. He wanted to put the wall up because he knew in advance that the American people wanted the wall up, and we have wanted the wall up, and he wanted the wall up. It's just common sense to put your country first and protect your own country, and then reach out if you want to help others. Isn't it common sense to be a nationalist if you live in this country? Isn't that common sense?
Well, I think one, it's common to be a realist in that.
Is it common sense to be a nationalist?
No, I think that we've learned that nationalism from looking at, let's look at the most prominent nationalists I can think of, which are Nazi Germany, Italy under Mussolini. I don't think we want that type of nationalism because nationalism, unfortunately, leads to racism.
You're not a nationalist? Are you an American?
Yes, I would call myself a patriot. I think
But you're
that's
not a
better word
nationalist.
no, I'm not a nationalist.
So you
I
wouldn't
think I
put
would say-
America. You would not put America first.
I think that there's one of the ethos that I live by is win-win, and I think in every type of relationship, people should look to this.
Would you put America first?
I'd like to establish relationships that are beneficial for America.
Would you put America first?
Yeah, but I would put America first, but not at the expense of other countries.
Would you put America first?
Yes. So you have my answer. I would, but not at the expense of other nations.
So
there's a way that we can.
So if other nations wanted to come in and destroy us, you would let them do it because you wouldn't want to stop. You want to be fair to them too. So you would let them come in and destroy us in this country just to be fair to them.
Well, no, I think fair is a great word that you're using. I think we need a fair immigration policy and a smart immigration policy.
How about illegal alien policy? Shouldn't we put the wall around? We're talking about illegal aliens.
Yes.
These people coming in with drugs and everything, crime, rape. They're killing American people, drunk driving, raping, killing, robbing, and stealing. That doesn't bother you?
Well, the thing is, there's two things. First, the majority of undocumented people residing here in the United
illegal
States.
Alien, not undocumented. Illegal alien.
Okay, well, that's what you like to refer to them as.
They are illegal alien.
Okay, the majority of those people that you're referring to did not come here over the southern border.
Well, those are the ones I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones who crossed the border illegally.
Yes, but many people came here on a visa, overstayed it.
I know, but I'm not talking about the visa people. They need to go too. But the problem is the illegal aliens coming over is sucking the life out of our social system and killing American people. Does that bother you?
Well, in terms of the crime statistic, that's been proven false. They say actually, immigrants commit less crimes than people born in the United States.
That's not. They're lying to you.
Well, I mean, I like empirical evidence, but I mean, there could be some concerns in terms of we need to attract, we
need to close the border. We got to close the border, buddy. George, it's just not fair to the American people to let the illegal come in, suck all the life, and kill them.
Well, I think we're a nation built on immigrants. I mean, as
not all illegal aliens, though.
Well, I mean,
we're a nation built on white people.
But yes, some people would say that the
hold on, buddy. Can you hold for 1 minute?
Pilgrims were illegal aliens.
Let me take a shot. But those people are lying. Hold on, buddy. Hold on. Back in a moment. I'm talking to George Weisgerber III. He's an entrepreneur, actor, and a member of the New York State Democratic County Committee. George, I want to ask one quick question. I may have asked you this the last time you were here. I'm grateful that the Great White Hope is putting a wall up around the border and that he called for a national emergency. One of the things I've noticed that black American citizens are being affected first and foremost by illegal aliens coming in. They're running blacks out of their communities. They're bringing in drugs and crime and gang violence, overpopulating the schools and the government hospitals and places like that. And so blacks are being affected first and foremost. Are you bothered? Does it bother you that the illegal aliens are affecting black people first and foremost in this country in a negative way? Does that bother you?
Well, I don't necessarily know if that's true. As I said, I do agree with what you said regarding we need more black-owned businesses, but I don't necessarily know if immigrants are the reason. I think a lot of that has to do with gentrification. I know in some of the communities that I've lived in, the corner store that was owned by a black family is now a Walgreens or Dwayne Reed. So I think a lot of that comes to gentrification. But I think a lot of that is also. I'm sorry. I think also.
I named all the ways that blacks are being affected by illegal aliens: education, health care, opportunities. They're being driven out of their own communities. Many of them are moving back to the South and further west here in California and other places. Does that bother you that illegal aliens are affecting black people first and foremost in this country?
Well, I do. It's interesting you pointed out because there is a reverse migration that's happening, but in the black community. But I think what that has a lot to do with is people are pursuing prosperity. It's like once you've now want to buy a house, maybe you don't want to live in the inner city anymore, so you move to a suburb in Atlanta and you buy a big home. So a lot of the first generation, former generation, maybe their parents had businesses, but now they are working in corporate or whatnot, and now decide that they'd rather live in a big house with a picket fence in a suburb rather than living in the inner city. And I think that's why the population of African Americans in some inner cities is decreasing. But that it's very similar to the same patterns that you may have seen from, formerly when Italian immigrants or Irish immigrants came to, say New York, and then the second or third generation decided to move out to the suburbs. Unfortunately in the black community,
So what's the answer to my question? In Compton, California, it's not identification that's happening. It's Mexicans taking over, illegal aliens. So I ask, are you bothered that illegal aliens are affecting black Americans first and foremost? Does that bother you?
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily.
No, it's happening in Compton, California. You do know. Everybody knows, but for some of you, the people on the left won't admit it. Are you bothered by that, knowing that it is true? Take my word. I work over there. Some of them go to my church.
Again, I haven't lived in Compton, so I can't speak firsthand on that.
But does it bother you to hear that illegal aliens are being affecting black people first and foremost? Are you bothered by that? Hearing that?
Well, it's hard for me to be bothered by something that I don't know as fact.
So does that mean no? That means no, you're not bothered?
Well, no, because a lot of statistics show that immigration helps to fuel our economy, helps to create jobs. I mean, look at Elon Musk. He was an immigrant, and now
we're talking about illegal aliens. Illegal aliens have no business getting jobs. They're breaking the law by coming here. They should not be allowed to work in our country. They should not be allowed to stay in our country. They shouldn't be allowed to enter into our country. We're talking about illegal aliens, not so-called immigrants.
Good. No, it's a good distinction. I do think that we should, the people who are here undocumented already, we should have a path to citizenship.
We should have a path right back home.
Well, a lot of undocumented immigrants, they got their EIN number. They're paying taxes. They're trying to do everything they can to contribute to.
They're criminals, George. How can we reward criminals?
This is if someone commits a crime, a felony, they should be deported.
No, they commit the crime when they broke the law and came across the border illegally. They are already criminals.
Well, this is the problem with ICE. Our president wants to. He's having he's not using any selection in terms of how they are removing undocumented people and setting them up for deportation. So I think it's more of a priority to focus on someone who's been convicted of multiple felonies than someone who has a family here, has been here for 20 years.
No, they're all criminals,
has a successful business.
George, they're all criminals. When they broke the law, they are criminals. When they cross the border, there's no exception. They broke the law.
My grandfather came here from China. He's illegal because at the time, because of the Chinese Exclusion Act, he wouldn't have been allowed to enter the country. It was the only piece of legislation that prior to Trump was that specifically prohibited immigration of a specific ethnic group. But he came here. He served in the military. He opened a business, and his three children, including my mother, went to college. Is
that a justification for illegal aliens coming across, breaking the law and coming across our border? Are you justifying that by bringing up to your grandfather?
Well,
your father?
I'm going to give you an example of someone who came here undocumented and made great
But
contributions to the
we
country.
don't need them. We need to stop it then. Do we need to deport your father or your grandfather who did that? Does he need deported?
Well, I think that, again, we think with the...
Was it your father or grandfather?
That was my grandfather. I think we need to
we need to
secure our
deport
borders.
him.
Well, he's not alive anymore, but I think we need to secure our borders to prevent more people from entering the country illegally, but create a path to citizenship for those who are here undocumented. And to the point we made earlier, technically the only people who are not here illegally, I would say, are the indigenous Native Americans and African Americans, because
that's not true.
Who were descendants of slaves.
That's
because
not true.
Everyone else is basically came here.
The only people who are
permission.
not here illegally are white people. If it wasn't for white people, there would be no Americans. The Indians were sitting around smoking pot. They weren't doing nothing to create a great country. White people came and created the greatest nation on this side of heaven, and they made the mistake of welcoming people of color in, and now we're paying a price for it. Let me ask you this, George. Do you agree with me that the wall is going up? It's going to happen.
Well, it's interesting. I think what's going to happen is, Trump is diverting funds from other important things in homeland security and the military.
I love that.
And he's making that a priority. I think that there's going to be cases filed. I believe the California governor or attorney general has already filed. So it'll probably go through the Ninth Circuit and make it up to the Supreme Court. And even though the Supreme Court is 5-4 conservative at this time, I think they're very conscious of abuse of executive power, and that the precedent that this would create, because this isn't just about Republican or Democrat. If any president can just unilaterally just say, you know what, I'm going to declare a national emergency.
That's what Obama did. Obama knows others did that.
But as we talked about, things like Hurricane Katrina and 9/11 are legitimate emergencies, whereas if the illegal crossings at the border are actually down, and where
that's not true. It's not down, George. One other thing, or two other questions that I have to run. One is, do you agree that it was a mistake for New York to get rid of the new Amazon headquarters?
Absolutely, that's somewhere where I agree, and this is where this is why I'm kind of trying to reach out to people on the left and the right. I think that we're having too many extremes, and what people have to understand, New York is a great example of how social programs can work. We have universal health care, which is now covering an additional 600,000 residents, including 300,000 undocumented residents.
That's amazing.
We have in New York State, we provide free education at CUNY and SUNY schools for 2 or 4 year college, up to 125,000 if your family income is less than 125,000. And now we have universal 3K. So starting at 3 years old, kids can go to school for free. But I'm smart enough to know that we pay for that in part due to the revenues that we collect from corporations who pay property tax and commercial property tax.
Yeah, nothing is free, George. Somebody paying for it.
And so that's why I feel that we need a hybrid approach to socialist policies. I think the Nordic nations like Norway and Finland, they're great examples of that. Venezuela is an example of socialism failing because they scared away the businesses and the oil companies, and they nationalized everything. That's not the type of socialism that's going to work. But I do believe that social programs like what we're doing here in New York benefit everyone. Because
do you agree with me that woman Cortez, Alexandria Cortez, is an airhead?
I wouldn't necessarily.
She need to be shipped back to her country.
Well, first of all, she was she's born here in the United States.
Well, we need to revoke her birth certificate and ship her back to a socialist country. She doesn't belong here. She's an airhead.
Well, I think no. Well, see, that's the kind of thinking that's almost socialist thinking. Like that's what Stalin would do. We need to respect.
Where is Stalin when we need him?
No, well, see, that's the thing is we can't have it both ways. If we believe in free speech, if we believe in democracy, we just because someone has a viewpoint different than ours, we can't, otherwise we have a tyranny. So that's why I try to respect others' viewpoints like yours And even though I agree with many of her policies, I do think she's a little naive, especially when it comes to the Amazon headquarters, which we just mentioned.
Amazing. One last question. You want to respond to my biblical question for this week? Should you laugh or cry when someone dies?
That's a tough question. I think that you should kind of do both. I mean, you should be sad that you're not going to have that person here with you, but then you can celebrate their life and all the amazing memories that you had together. But I personally would cry.
So you think we should cry when they die?
I mean, I think it's a personal choice. And some people, I think, is it in New Orleans? When I've seen funerals, they have like a band, and it's something to celebrate. I think it's a personal choice.
What's your website, George, for people?
Yeah.
Well, how do you want them to contact you?
You could just check me out on Instagram if you'd like. It's G. Weisgerber at 1600, like 1600 Pennsylvania Ave.
Well, George, thank you so much for coming on, man.
My pleasure.
I enjoyed talking to you. We'll have you back.
Likewise.
All
right, thank you so much. Have a great day, Justin.
Are you going to run for president one day?
No, I mean, at this point, I just really think it's important to bring people together, and I think facts matter. That's my biggest concern, is that people are now, with the social media, people love looking at memes, and they make their decision based on a meme, but they're not taking the time to scratch the surface and learn the facts. And that's my number one priority.
Well, I need your help. We want to ship Cortez back to her country. And so we need your help.
Well, as I said, I totally disagree with that, but I think that we should create more dialogue, and when people make statements that aren't accurate, whether it's President Trump or a member of the Democratic Party, we have to call them out.
That's right. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. All right.
Have a great day.
You too, buddy.